Hello, everybody. Well, welcome to this chapter of On the Lounge. Today, we're looking and we're speaking to Victoria Rose, who's just over this side of me, just here, there, and that way, this way. She's over there. She's like an unbelievable human being. She's got so many fantastic stories. Um, if you're in the page right now, I'd really like you to do one thing for me, and that would be to hit that like and subscribe and all notifications. If you're on Rumble, smash that thumbs up thing on Rumble. All of these things that you do just help me. If at the end of the session you don't like it, just unlike it. It'd be a really good thing to just, oh, I'm watching another On the Lounge. I'll just like that straight away. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe right now. I'll give you a second. Okay, go now. All right, so no further ado to this. We're going to go right into Victoria Rose. She's over the side over here. Victoria, please, what we're doing with this interview process on the lounge with me is the idea of it is that you are going to tell the viewers one thing about your past that you, it's either a value or a principle or an ideal or a moral that you're still using and doing today. Past, I'd like it to be like distant past, not 10 years ago past. And then you can spend as much time on that as you like. The next part of it, like the second stage, will be something in the recent past, like the last 4 years, that has affected you, and it's keeping you going strongly or whatever at this stage now in the present. And the last part of it's going to be one thing that is currently happening in the world today that really annoys you. Now, I'm allowed to say pisses you off, but I don't think I should because you're a lady and you don't ever swear. So I won't say pisses you off. I'll just say whatever annoys you. So, Victoria, you ready to start with this?
Sure am.
Okay, so one thing also I forgot to mention, if it's okay with you to mention the year you were born in your introduction, that would be very cool. No birth date, of course, because you don't want to receive thousands of red roses on that day, or unless you do, just year's fine. And I've just got to say that you are what we call in the generational times a part of the silent generation. Is that correct?
No, they're the older ones.
So what are
I'm
you?
a baby boomer. I'm the
Oh, we're
older
the baby
baby
boomers.
boomer.
Because I'm a baby boomer, that makes us the same. So, all right,
You're
so baby
younger
boomer. Okay,
baby
that's cool.
boomer than me.
I'm at the end of it. Yeah, you're at the beginning. Is
No,
that what you're
you're the
telling me?
younger one. I'm the
I'm the
at the
younger one.
end. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm leaving it up to you now. You drive it. How do you want it? What do you want to do?
Thank you, David. So you called me my name.
Yep.
And I've been called many names in my very long life. And the name that I'm most proud of is the name of mother. As a solo parent, I've raised two children to adulthood. And the absolute bonus is they still talk to me.
That's true.
And,
Yeah.
yeah. And another name, soldier. I've served Australia for 23 years as a soldier in the ARES, training over 7,000 officers and soldiers in weapons drill and theory, rising to the rank of warrant officer.
Sorry to interrupt you. You trained them on weapons. What?
Drill and theory.
Oh, wow, that's cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I did that for 23 years, mainly with 5th Training Group, which is Lewin Barracks in East Fremantle, Western Australia. Uh, Other names: author, leadership trainer, solo traveler, house sitter, and more recently, chatbot and taskbot creator.
Wow.
Now, David, I'm going to answer your first question.
Uh-huh.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm sitting down.
Okay. I was born in a pub, more specifically, the Freemasons Hotel in Albany, Western Australia.
Oh,
Way back
hang on.
then.
Was that a hotel separate to the actual Freemasons building? Because I used to teach my martial arts out of the Freemasons Hall in Albany.
Well, I was a baby then, David, so I don't know.
Were
And
you a
I
baby
read,
when you were born?
pardon?
Were you a baby when you were born?
I know. So I had
Oh.
no clue. All I know is what my mother told me, and that it's a hotel. And I was
Oh,
recently in Albany, first time in decades, really. And I went to check out the Freemasons Hotel. Unfortunately, it's been knocked down, a beautiful, beautiful old heritage building. It was to make way for a reject store type supermarket, and those people went bust, and it's now a car park. So it was
sensational.
tragic. I
Can I
know.
ask you a question on that? Just as before just so I don't lose track of my train of thought with that Freemason pub. As you're heading down York Street in Albany, um, there was the old Albany Hotel, I think, or the Premier on the left hand side heading down to the harbour. And if you turned left there and went up the hill a little bit, that's where the Freemason Hall was. Is that where the pub was?
That's, I'm not really quite sure the location of York Street, but I can just say that whatever street we were in, we turned left and did go up the hill a little bit, and there's a car park
And on the right hand side.
on the left hand side.
Oh, right. Okay, different place. That's
On the
okay.
left
It's roughly
side.
where I was thinking it might have been. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
you continue.
Okay. So to continue my journey, to answer your question, my 17-year-old mother was banished to the country to birth her illegitimate daughter. Talking about names, David, I had been
Mm.
called bastard a couple of times in my life. And at that time, I didn't know that I actually was one.
That you were one. Don't use that word anymore, though, Victoria.
Oh, it's still a valid word, though.
Oh,
Still a valid
absolutely a
word.
valid word, but they just don't seem to use it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, there are lots of other words that mean the same thing, talking about names.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
So, on an August day in 1950, my year of birth, my mother fell down some stairs. She must have been working there as a cleaner or something, because she was far too young to be working as bar staff. And she was feeling some pain, and she went to her room to rest. And that's when I burst into the world as a solo performance. What does that
Wonderful.
mean? There were no doctors, there were no midwives, there were no nurses, just my mother and me. So, do you know, it's
Wow.
interesting too. I didn't get to realize that my father was not my biological father until I was about 38. And then I got to see my real birth certificate. And in that, the proprietor of the hotel was named as a witness. Just what on earth's going on there? Okay. So at birth, my life as a solo traveler was set in motion, David, and it became the way to
Became
this
the one. You're doing
very
that.
day.
Okay, so is that the one thing you would say from that early beginning as solo, like right at the very
Solo.
beginning, that
Yeah.
you still maintain most of your life? It's a
Yes.
value you've held through most of that.
As far as the traveling, but in many other ways as well.
So is it you said in the little bit of the intro that you were with the Army Reserves for 23 years and
Yeah.
did the training in the um, what was it, the military guns, weapons.
Weapons, drill, and
Yep.
theory.
Weapons drill and theory, and then you did training in the corporate world, and I think you might have mentioned real estate, or you have to me in the past, and a lot of
Yes.
those things. Did you generally take the role of a trainer? Was that what you generally fell into as part of your psyche and your personality?
In many ways, as a real estate agent, then you are solo. That's one of the
Yeah.
really good things about it, because you operate under the umbrella of the main um, business as such. So in Fremantle, the company that I worked the longest with was Chesterton International, and that was great fun.
Mm, I haven't heard of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that just Victorian branch, Victorian?
No,
Oh, it
that was
doesn't.
in Western Australia. Yeah,
If
and
the
they
name
are,
says international, then it can't just be Victoria or Western Australia, can it? It's got to be international.
yeah.
I was having a blonde moment. Sorry, Reddit. I was having a moment.
You need to be very careful, David.
Oh, yes, because I'd hate to offend the blondes and the redheads and the brunettes and the dark-haired
That's
people. And
right.
I'd hate to do that. And I don't mean to offend them because, they're not all silly. Anywho, so that was
Anywho,
so that was a long time ago. So that was given,
that's right.
a few years ago, and it's moved you through up to. Um, I know it's yours, and you can tell it where you want to go with it. But you started solo backpacking around the world, and for me, that's so exciting. I mean, I personally can't imagine doing that because, and I'm relatively solo. I quite enjoy my own company, and you know, if I had to be solo, I would be. No, I wouldn't be. You know what I mean? I would be okay with it. But solo traveling around the world is a huge thing to do at any age. When did you start that?
Well, what I'd like to do, David, is include that in my answer
Oh,
to question two, if that's
okay,
okay.
cool. Sorry, I
Oh,
jumped ahead of myself. I'm good like that.
you did. You're a bad boy.
I know.
In late 2017, a series of life events plunged me into deep discontent with my life's journey. Crikey, I said to self. You wrote an Amazon bestseller on how to make the rest of your life the best of your life. Yet here you are wallowing in victimhood. Best
Hang
you
on,
go.
hang on, hang on. Did you say you wrote an Amazon bestseller?
I did.
I didn't know that. I love these. These are good. You're
Seriously,
telling me so many
David,
things
there's
I didn't
so
know.
much you don't. I don't know why. I'm just going to have to. Sorry about this. I have no clue why I'm getting all of these notifications. I never normally get them. I do
Okay.
apologize. I should have turned the phone off.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So Amazon bestseller, that was about future travel and experiences and things like that. What was that
No,
about?
no. How to make the rest of your life the best of your life. And
Yeah,
the tagline to that was tough love for smart single women over 60. Because, and the
nice.
reason why I wrote that book was I had my own leadership training business. I ran that for about a decade and I traveled all around Australia and New Zealand training, I think that was over 15,000 business participants and men and women, mixed groups. And what I noticed was how the mature women in the groups were responding and they'd come up to me and chat about their lives after the training, the
Yeah.
workshop. And I thought, wow. So that led me not only to write the book, but also to start some private seminars as well, some private workshops. And I really enjoyed that. So, like over 60, still fabulous.
Hmm.
And of course,
Was that part of your?
most common complaint was, but what if I've never felt fabulous, let alone feel fabulous?
Oh, of course, you can over 60. You can start feeling fabulous if you never
you,
did before.
you are so right. And that
Mm.
was my intention after getting the insight to speaking to hundreds of women in Australia and New Zealand around what their corporate and business life was like and how unhappy, bitter, uh, and just discontented they were with the whole scenario in the workplace. So, after saying to myself, crikey, I wrote the book. Okay, to be fair, it was an Amazon bestseller for about 3 microseconds because
Yes.
that's about all you get. But my advice to myself was to best go back and read my own book, which I did. And doing that, I changed my mindset. So rather than be in a really dark place where um, discontented, dark days, who am I? Am I worthy? I just changed my mind. And in August 2018, I boarded a plane to Europe with the mission to prove it was possible to travel and live overseas on an Australian aged pension.
So that,
So,
sorry,
yeah,
so 2018, that would have made you, sorry, I know we were doing my maths, 50, that would have made you
68.
68.
It's just after
Wow,
my
that's huge.
68th birthday. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's huge, Victoria. I mean, as I said earlier, this like for me, even someone at 28 to do that's monumental. That's fantastic. But do you think all your previous life skills set that in motion and made that easy for you to do, or is that just your
Absolutely.
personality?
Well, remember my answer to your first question? It was the way to be a solo
Mm,
traveler. As an 18-year-old,
mm,
year old, I solo traveled on a ship because ships were a lot cheaper in those days to the UK for a traditional 2-year working holiday in the UK. And that's not such a big deal because that was quite common for young Australians to do in those days.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So that did. So you really started your solo journey in at 18, really, didn't you? When you
no,
did that first travel. Yeah,
at
that's
birth.
exciting. At birth, yeah. No, you're with your mother then.
Oh, all right.
I was
And then
born solo. If that was going to be no, no. So all the youth, the journey, jumping in and helping with your mother as a young child, well and truly helped the solo journey. But you travelled at 18. That's even in 1968. That's still a pretty brave thing to do, and it was a very
um,
volatile time in the world with all of the rebellions and the changing of, I don't know what you call it, not so much rebellions, but there was I mean, even it's almost anarchy with the Cultural Revolution and all the things that were happening in that decade of the 60s and even the beginnings of the 70s. I reckon it was a brave time to start traveling. That was huge of you to do that.
at that precise time that I was boarding the ship, the P&O Orchides, I was supposed to be going through the Suez Canal, talking about warfare and stuff
Mm,
happening in the world. And they closed the Suez Canal because of the wars and stuff that were going on there. And when
wow.
I got to the UK, I was supposed to be going to Northern Ireland. But guess
Oh,
what was happening in Northern
oh,
Ireland?
yeah, like terrorist bombs everywhere. That's huge. So now,
Yeah.
when you left, did you know any of that was happening?
See, this is the big difference. You don't know about those things, not like now.
Yeah,
Wars brought into our lounge rooms, into our bedrooms now. We
yeah,
see all the strife and
everywhere.
torment. We see
Yeah,
everything. If we
yeah,
choose to tune to that channel,
yes, very true. Yeah, again, that takes responsibility in you making the
mm,
choice to tune into that.
yeah. So, to continue my answer to question two, after
Yep.
solo backpacking, this is to get back to what you were saying earlier. After solo backpacking through 10 countries for 16 months, my mission was accomplished.
Wow.
And yeah, and the only way I could actually do that was to continue with house sitting and to volunteer. In all my 16 months away, I actually only paid for 3 nights accommodation.
Wow, that's fantastic. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
You did house sitting when you were traveling around solo around Europe.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
My first
So you're doing
house
that.
was in Turkey,
Sorry, I missed that. I was
overseas house.
interrupting you.
My first overseas house sit was in Turkey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm.
And how long were you there for?
I was in, well, you can only get a visa for 3 months, and
Oh,
I left with 1 day left to go on my visa. So I was in
oh,
Turkey for nearly 3 months and did a
wow.
couple of house sitting and volunteering gigs, and was really surprised by how wonderful Turkey was. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Would you go back?
I would, except for this. There are still so many places I haven't visited. For
Oh,
instance,
yeah.
there are the northern countries. I haven't been up there to Norway or Sweden or Finland. Perhaps not Iceland, but haven't
Even the
been to
name puts
those
me off.
places. Yeah, yeah. But then what happened after arriving back in Australia mid December 2019, just months before the lockdowns, the
Yeah,
restrictions and mandates that
yeah,
changed how we lived life? I was locked out of my preferred state, which was Victoria, and
yeah.
locked into just one suburb for 7 months, just me and one little Jack Chi. Solo again. It's the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Well, that's right. That's a long
Uh,
time to be in those lockdowns and only having a little dog for company, isn't it?
yeah,
How did
yeah.
that affect you, do you think?
Again, there were extra conditions that impacted, and it certainly wasn't pleasant. But
Mm,
um, I'm a solo traveler, so I was
sure.
able to. I have many interests, and I love the internet, and I love my
Mm.
MacBook Pro,
Yeah, you
and
can't help that, but I guess that's fine.
I
You might
know.
you might get over that in time.
I
Um,
know. And I
c-
was born with a science fiction book in my hand. So I, I'm onto all of the things about with
nice,
technology. It's really
good.
good. Yeah.
Can I ask you what I would think relatively personal question?
Well, you can ask it. I may not answer it. We'll see.
Absolutely, you don't have to. I'm just remembering, just as you're talking, since that 2019 and the lockdowns and those sorts of things, that you were after that time you were involved in the quite scary floods in Lismore.
Ah,
Um,
yes. Yeah.
is that something you would be prepared to share with the watchers?
Sure. Sure. So, one of the questions I find out before I accept any house sitting gigs now is if they're prone to flooding. Because unless
Anywhere
you
near water?
ever been in a flood, you have no idea what it's like. So I
Oh,
looked after, I was caring for two beautiful bull mastiff cross and another Australian shepherd, beautiful big black dogs. And the owner had gone to the Netherlands to be with her family for Christmas. Then we got word that there was going to be a flood, but the owners assured me that it had never gone above the floor of their Queenslander before. The floor of their Queenslander is 12 meters above ground. All I can
12
say is
meters,
12 meters above
uh,
ground,
ground or sea or water level.
ground.
Gee, that's a long way. It's almost like 2 stories or three
It's a
stories.
Queenslander. Yeah.
You know,
It's big. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it is tall because uh, the whole underneath of the Queenslander was a whole different rental accommodation
Huh?
for
Oh,
someone else
yep.
who got totally flooded. And
Wow.
at 6 a.m. that morning, the two dogs and I were sitting on the sofa watching as the water bubbled up through the floorboards.
No.
That was scary.
Wow. I was going to say, like, that's scary, but that's a little bit more than scary. Like, at any point, did you think, oh, it's going to stop now? Or do you think, is this going to keep going? Like, what sort of things were going through your head?
I was just thinking, I've got two dogs here,
Hmm.
and it doesn't look like it's going to stop. It just kept rising and rising. And on one occasion, I phoned the police control center, and the guy who answered was asking me questions. And when he asked me how old I was, I said I'm 72, and he said, "You sound sprightly for a 72-year-old." And I said, "I am sprightly, especially when death is imminent." So, but
Yeah.
luckily, the SES turned up with their barge, and a lot of people did not leave that street because they'd never had, and they were nearly all the houses on that street were Queenslanders, and the
Yeah.
water had never risen that high before.
Are you playing it down a little bit, Victoria?
No, it
I mean,
was
it's a pretty
scary.
terrifying thing to go through. At any point, did you think about leaving and not taking the dogs?
Oh, God, no. As a matter of fact, I would fear for my emotional state if the dogs hadn't been saved. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful. I'm very grateful that I had put that harness on because, yeah, I was never afraid for myself. I intuitively knew that I was going to be all right. But the fear did start to come in that I would not be able to save the dogs. But it all turned out well.
Yeah.
And of course,
Um,
there are after effects, of course.
so, do you think those are still affecting you?
Oh, not as much. Just
No,
every
no.
now and again, I might have a feeling. But as I said, if those dogs had been
Yeah.
swept away in the flood, then that would have been hard to take.
Yeah, I think the what you were saying about that is, and when I say you're underplaying it, I think I would say there's a lot of people in that position who probably would have left the dogs. So, from my mind, what you did, and I would say I'm almost similar to you. I wouldn't have gone, but I think a
Mm,
lot of people don't put as much value into those as you've done, and I think that's actually fantastic and uh, makes you the Victoria that we all know and love. So, all credit to you for doing that. But for me, I think I would find myself a little traumatized, um, just knowing how high the water came and
mm,
knowing that how high it could have gone and knowing that it could have
mm.
receded, but you were rescued and the dogs were saved. That's truly a fantastic story, and I think so. That was only a year, 2 years ago now, almost.
Yeah, that was February 2021.
Wow. No, it
No,
was 2 years ago.
2022. 2020.
2022. Wow, last year.
Yeah,
Far out, Victoria. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
So I guess that's something that might be impacting you a little bit you on the now of the
Mm.
life. So I think maybe one and two of those questions or opportunities have been answered. Unless there's something else that you think in the last few years that's impacting you that is something that you're going to is still in part of your life. Is there something else you'd like to share? That would be cool too.
No, I'm quite happy with that, and it's enough information to share, I think.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
all ties in. It's from the original solo traveler.
yes,
It's
yeah,
the same. So, and we
yeah.
all are solo travelers. We came in solo, we leave solo. We don't take anyone with us. Well, not
No,
actually with us. So,
no. Well, so it is our journey, and so long as we
yeah,
know it's our journey, and we don't want to take other people can share our journeys with us, absolutely for sure. And you invite
yes,
people in. Some people jump on your back, and you don't necessarily want them, but it's still ultimately your journey, and yours is up to now, and like I say, for the next 10 or 20 years, going to be really, really cool as well because you're going to keep doing your not backpacking, your house sit for quite a while. Is
oh,
that
it depends. Life is ever changing. I'll see. I'm here in Newcastle, looking after Finn, and he's
that's
the
Finn in the background? Yep.
yes, yeah,
Mm,
Finn, and
very cool.
I've discovered Merriweather Beach, and I really love it. It's got lots of lovely things around it, it and it doesn't flood.
Yeah. Does it have a coffee shop?
Does it have a what?
A coffee shop.
Me. It's got a couple of really great coffee shops, and
Nice.
you're just there having your magic coffee, looking out over the ocean, and the whales are going by now. So that's
Yeah.
amazing
So,
too.
just on that, you said your magic coffee. So I now know from you your reputation as magic coffee. What is a magic coffee?
So a magic coffee is simply a double ristretto shot in a small cup, low tide. In other words, 3/4 full of milk. Is that a strong coffee? Heck yes. And it's smooth. And if the beans are good, which most of the times they are, it's
Yeah.
just an incredible experience to start your
Oh,
day.
cool. Well, that's really cool to get from where you've been up to where you are right now. So
Mm.
something in there right now, just to go through the last section, the third part of this is right. What's happening in the world today that really annoys you?
Okay, how long have you got, David?
Oh, stream can go for as long as you'd like to talk. So I know Joe Rogan does 3 hour podcasts. Pick
Well, we're
one.
not going that long. I can't
No,
leave
no, no,
Finn
no.
barking
Pick
that
one.
long.
Pick only just pick one.
It's
Not
really
3 or 4.
easy
The
to
one that
rant
you would
and
seem that
rave.
at this second be the worst.
It's really easy to rant and rave about what's happening today: the injustice, the cruelty, the greed, the stupidity, the compliance, the victimhood, the corruption, the
Yeah.
desperate need for approval. And the
Well,
list is long.
that one's
Although
a good one. The
one,
desperate need for approval.
Mm. Although one annoying thing may rise above the others for today, all the other things clamour for attention the next day and the day after. The result? I'm a mess too. So that's taking note of those annoying things because
Yeah.
one cannot rise above the other for long. The others
No.
all swamp you in. So
Yeah.
the solution, for starters, not getting offended at everything. That kind of helps.
I
I
think that's
never,
really important.
it's very important.
Yeah.
I never watch mainstream agenda driven news. I choose the media and people I watch. I do my own research and take responsibility for the decisions I make. I look for where I can make a difference. Where I can make a difference only starts with me, how I react to situations, recognizing my responsibility to remedy a situation which I've helped to create. And making my bed first thing in the morning helps.
I think that is absolute gold. You know, as I've heard it from a few places and a few people about just the simple act of making the bed, and I think the one thing that was really means a lot to me in that is that if I think it was a U.S. admiral who said it to a class that was graduating, that even if you have a really bad day and nothing's gone right for you, when you come home, you look at your bedroom and go, I did something, I achieved something, even if it was as simple as making a bed. And I used to say to my students that making a bed is, if you want to stop your parents giving you a hard time on how dirty your room is, make your bed. Because the parents will walk in and see a messy bed and then they'll look for everything else. If your bed is clean, the parents look in and smile and go, wow, the bed's made, and they walk away. So they actually don't see the mess on the floor if the bed is made. So it's like a double bonus for you, isn't it?
Mm,
Make the bed
mm.
feel good, make the bed and other people feel that you've done something and accomplished something. So I think that's a really cool attitude, make your bed, and
I
all the
think
other
so
bits that go with
too.
it. Take
Yeah,
responsibility, absolutely fantastic.
yeah. Just ready to, there's a lot of blaming on others, so it starts with you. And when I was a leadership trainer in my business, I all of my training was, might I say, cleverly crafted to really pinpoint the fact this actually is important learning about them and how they respond to what's happening. It's not just about the workplace, it's about the home place as well, because that's who they actually are, their
Yeah,
responses. And
yeah,
I used to have a lot of fun with that. So that's my answer to your question. You need to
yeah,
look at self. What is the
yeah,
part that you're playing? And get your energy up, get your energy flowing, and
yeah,
notice the difference.
yeah. So directly underneath your face on this presentation over here, there it says hashtag Traos, um, and
Yes.
that's the TRAOYS is take responsibility and own your shit.
Wow.
And so if that hashtag Traos down the bottom there is ultimately, even in, again, same, because I'm not the same as you, but I've done training in different areas, not quite as
Yeah.
exciting as yours, but it's all about that mindset, isn't it? That the only
Yes.
way we can fully grow as an individual is to look at everything that you do
Mm,
as an individual and take responsibility for everything you possibly can, without
mm,
blaming someone else for, I'm this way because this, or I'm that way because this person did this to me or that to me. It's like, it doesn't matter what they do. If I go, well, I can choose to own this or I can choose not to, and that's taking responsibility. Does that sort of go with what you're saying? Do you think that's partly
totally.
true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's totally true. It all starts with you. So I've read many times that we create our own reality. And I have thought that meant it's how you react to what happens. But I also realize it goes deeper. So why do you react like you do to what happens? It's because you have a belief around how, what that situation means and how you should react. And
Yeah.
so it's you, it's looking at what is it that you believe around about life, and do those beliefs serve you? Because so many people have beliefs they got in as little children, and here they are now, an adult, and they're behaving many times as a child, a spoilt brat. And that's
Yeah.
because they're operating on a standard or an ideal or an idea that they took on board as a child, and they haven't examined it since. It's very
And I
exciting.
believe this. I talked about on my Saturday morning lives, bacon and bourbon, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Just a little plug right there. Um, I talked about memory a couple of weeks ago, and the fact that a memory over a period of time has been tested that it's only about 57% accurate, even over a short period of time, from actually what happened in the event of the time to what you perceive the memory of is. If that made any sense. So if you have what you were just saying then, if you have an experience as a young person and you don't ever re-look at that and investigate how that can change, then your memory of that experience could be completely wrong. It may
Mm,
not have ever been anything like that. So why do we
mm,
try and hold on to that memory? And why can't we just look at it as an adult and go, well, that's the way it was. I don't choose to react that way now. I guess that's again like taking some responsibility for that. And that's when you grow up. I think if you act like a child and anything happens, as you said before, a spoiled brat, then you're never really going to be a grown up person, are you?
yeah, yeah,
It's
very
interesting.
true.
I guess, yeah. Moving through so many aspects of what you said about not looking at mainstream and searching your own information, finding out the truth that works. Try and look at both sides of one issue if you possibly can, and determining the value that suits you
Mm,
is, if nothing else, over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen so many lies and so many things that are trying. You can almost see the manipulation happening, and the
mm,
fact that so many people just don't care, and and the people who do care are the ones that do what you do, and
mm.
don't listen to mainstream media that so has an agenda. It's unbelievable, and open themselves up to looking at all these different other avenues. So you said something earlier about your current position doing um, chatbots and similar things. How do
Task.
you feel about the big scare in the world at the moment of AI?
No, it's happening. As have said, I was born with a science fiction book in my hand. There is
Yeah,
not one thing happening in the world that we even know about, let alone the stuff we don't know about today that I haven't read about in a book somewhere at some
yep,
stage.
yeah,
So
robotic stuff. Yeah,
yeah, it's
Isaac Asimov.
happening, and I think it will be an interesting how it unfolds. Can we stop it? I don't think so.
No,
So, and it's no use being scared by it, because that just puts you in a state of fear. And we've all seen what being put in a state of fear has done to so many over, let's just talk about the last 3 years, let alone the
yeah.
history of humans.
Oh, it's
And
unbelievable.
yeah, so
It's
uh,
how they control us, isn't it, Victoria? Like, if you go
mm,
right back, as you can go back to the Greeks, and they always bring in the gods of all the multiple gods of the Greeks to, if you don't do this, they'll smite you this way or that way. And even all the way through the last 2,000 years, it's all been the same fear based thing. And when we lose sight of those 2,000 year traditions, we've now got to fear something else. And now it's AI. Is it something we should embrace? Because I mean, I say this with utter respect for you. Uh, at 72, nearly 73, or 73 already, um, aren't you the sort of person that would go, "No, AI is bad," and freak me out and have nothing to do with it? But I don't feel that from you. I think it's a little
no,
bit different.
it can help. So I've been a small business owner now since I jumped the corporate ship in, oh yes, 2008, August
Yeah,
2008. Started my
wow.
own business right in the so-called global financial crisis.
Yeah,
Timing
good
has
for you.
never been a fabulous thing with me, and um, it's because of my intense curiosity. about supporting myself first and seeing how difficult it is as a small business owner to get any traction, no matter how good your offering is. This is what caused me to actually look more at technology and to understand it. And I'm not saying it's easy at all.
Mm, mm.
Currently, with building my task bots, it's that isn't easy either. But
So can you?
I refuse to give up because it
Yeah.
is an absolute time saver and a boon to small, medium, even large business
Can
owners.
you
But my
explain what a?
focus
What,
is a
so can you
small
explain what a
business.
task bot is?
Yeah, well, it probably takes a little bit more than me just chatting now. But
Okay. Can you give an example of a task bot site, a site that has
okay,
one?
I'll do it this way. So what a
Yeah.
task bot does is it does the actions that you would do in your business repetitively every day or a couple of
Right.
times a week, whatever the action is that you have to do to grow your business, to get leads, to nurture, and all that. But you don't get to do what made you want to actually start your business, which was to deliver your gifts, your skills, your talents. So here's the example. For 2 years on Facebook, I have 3.6K friends, and for 2 years, I've been manually acknowledging their birthdays. That took a lot of
Mm.
time, and there are issues
Yeah.
with that, David. I would have to copy and paste the message. Sometimes I forget to change the name. It was the
Yeah.
same message to person to person to person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I have now, as a subscription model, I have built what I call birthday bot. Every
Oh,
day at my scheduled time, birthday bot goes in and she gives a greeting to all of my friends whose birthday is on that day. Never gets the
oh, that's
name
cool.
wrong, yeah. And it's never the same message because we use this format called Spintax, which means I can create 20 varieties of a birthday message, and birthday bot just cycles through them. So
Wow.
yeah, it's fabulous. I love it. It's because we got to nurture, David. It's no use getting the leads and then forgetting them. You've
No, I
got to
agree.
look after people.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
awesome. That's a fantastic thing. I didn't realize that's what you do. That's I know you did bots and you've done the ask a question and it prompts you for answers, and then you give them the answer that
that's the
gives you other questions.
chatbots. Yeah, that's the
Chatbot. Okay.
chatbots. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. So, have you seen and had a look at Chat GPT
Oh yes. Yeah, I have.
and your views on that?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
You have
it
to
is, isn't it?
learn you have to learn how to prompt properly.
Yeah.
So if you're not prompting properly, so it's always the same. Garbage in, garbage out. It's like when you search on Google or
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
browser,
Yeah.
um, you don't put in the right prompt, the right search term, you won't get back what the information that you want. So you
That's
have
very
to
true.
learn. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Very true.
brilliant. I'm resisting it at the moment only because there is so much else that I'm focusing on. Are
Yeah.
you using it, David?
Well, look, I did look at it, mainly, mainly to ask it a question about AI. So, because I did a section as well on my Bacon and Bourbon show on Saturday Morning Live. That's another plug, just if you didn't get it. Um,
I think
about AI, I talked about it, and I go, well, what does it mean? Like, I had a couple of guests
Mm,
on, and AI was really good. I got to turn my thing on. Hang on a second. Oh, at a moment. Um, but I got it to ask itself questions about what AI means, and it was really interesting what it gave back. So
yeah,
yeah, I've had to play with it. I think it's like I can see it being a trap for a lot of people. I actually believe that a lot of the young people will use Chat GPT to write messages to their friends and they can copy and text it on their phone. I don't, because I've had some response from some people who all of a sudden give really good graphically or grammatically correct sentences with capitals in texts that
With
they've
capitals.
never done before. I'm going, okay, so these kids who would have no real education, not to say of education that we would have had, have been whipped if we didn't get our grammar correct. All of a sudden, overnight, their grammar is perfect. I'm going, okay, someone's either writing that for them, or there's something going on. So I actually think it's taking away from creativity in the individual. I think it's a fantastic tool if you use it for a tool, but I see a lot of people using it as using it for the wrong reasons. I don't think it's going to open their minds up. I'm not afraid of it. I'm actually excited of AI. I think it's going to be a next phase of our evolution as humankind, for sure. But I can see a lot of lazy people using it for the wrong reasons.
Got to be careful with plagiarism and copyright claims and there's all sorts of stuff there. Oh,
So what
David,
happened with?
as much
Sorry,
as I've had a fantastic chat with you, we've been going for 47 minutes.
wow,
And I
it's time
have
to
a
go.
dog who wants to go for his walk.
Oh, I've got to tell you, Victoria, that's a selfish dog. I mean, like, really,
I
come on.
know. I
But
know.
really, seriously, thank you so much. If there's anything that I'm going to put in the description below, your book, particularly on Amazon, if it's still available, I'd like to put that
Only
up
in
there.
Kindle form now.
It's what? Sorry?
Only in Kindle form now.
Oh, that's fine. I'll put the
Yeah.
link down there. Anything that you'd else like to put in there or share, that would be fantastic in the description. Any hashtags, let me know, and I'll put them down there so that people can get to you in particular and your business. I'd like that to be put down in the description as well. So if you could text that through to me, that would be fantastic. So,
Fabulous.
given
I'll
that
do
it's been going for this long, I can't believe it's gone so quickly. It's been a fantastic chat with
It
you.
has.
We will call it. We will finish it. So, my thanks to you and appreciation, gratitude for you being on the lounge with me. I'm not going to show you the picture I've done of you. I'm just going to put it up and you can see it when it's live.
Gutless.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you, Victoria. I'm actually, when you come and stay, I'm probably going to run away for a little bit.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, but really, really seriously, thank you so much for sharing everything with us. I really do appreciate it. And everybody, please get onto Victoria's got a InstaFace, TikTok, Gram, Face, whatever. You got any of those you can give me?
I'll send you the links, David.
Yep, that'd be cool. I'll put them in the description below. Get on there and follow her, and
Okay.
follow her journey on her travels around in her homestays, sits, and get on to Kindle and get the book, which will be in the description below as well.
Yeah.
And everybody, please thank Victoria as best you can from the distance you are by liking this channel and subscribing, notifications on. Go to Rumble and hit that thumbs up. Victoria, Rose, thank you so much for being with us and being with me on the lounge. I can't wait to put this up for everyone to have a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
All the best to you. Thanks, Victoria.